You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing, beautiful listeners. Welcome to the Summer Song series. I'm cracking myself up because I don't even remember when I decided to do this, but it's been a few years and I love it. I love songs. I love music. Music has been such a huge part of my healing journey. I think it goes back to language and how much language matters. And I guess just matters to me. When you have someone put a language, and especially poetically, a language to describe what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, and especially to a really good beat, it feels so healing. So I love music. If those of you who have been listening to me for a while remember, I have a public Spotify healing playlist that I throw a lot of the songs in that have been impactful for me. Sometimes I have clients share a song and I'll throw it in there. In fact, one of the songs in this series is a very special one. It's a song that actually one of my clients has written. I cannot wait to have her come on and share her song, share the lyrics of the song, which are incredible. And we'll add that to the playlist. In the show notes, there's a link to that Spotify playlist for those of you that are interested. And this song will be in there that I am sharing today. There's a moment in healing, and a lot of you have told me about this moment for you, where we're not just grieving the end of a relationship and what happened in that relationship. There is the grieving of ourself, the version of ourselves that existed before all of it, whether it's the version that felt naive, the version that felt hopeful, the version that had dreams before the lies, before walking on eggshells, before the self-judgment, the feelings of rejection, comparison, before the moment that we decided that all women were threatening and all men are like before all of that, before you started to make yourself smaller, to make room for someone else who was never going to show up in a way that you needed. Then you hear a song or you read something or you're just driving in your car and bam, it hits you. I miss myself. I missed who I was before I started messing with all of this. And that is what describes the lyrics to the song that I am sharing today. I'll read the lyrics of the song, and then I'm going to just dive into a couple of the pieces of the song that really stood out to me and spoke to me. Maybe it will speak to you as some way as well. The lyrics are, "You say you don't know why we can't go on like this, but tell me what this is. Been all your bitter lies and broken promises that you refuse to fix. It's not what I wanted. You know it too. The moment I called it, you hit me with that, I'm missing you. The moment I called it, you hit me with that, I'm missing you. I miss me too. I miss the way I took my feelings, lived my life without a ceiling. I miss me too. I miss the girl who made him nervous because she knows just what her worth is. No, it's not personal, baby, but it's killing me not to say it. I miss the me I was before I started messing with you. I miss me too. Oh, I miss me too. I'm partly responsible for letting this go on, for writing all of those songs about you, hoping you'd hear me out, but no, you never did. That's why I had to quit. It's not what I wanted. You know it too. The moment I called it, you hit me with that, I'm missing you. I miss me too. Then the lyrics repeat. Oh, yeah, well, I miss me more. I miss me more when I'm with you. Miss me. I miss me. I miss me more. I miss me too. The lyric, I miss the me I was before I started messing with you. For me in this song, it's going to land for everybody so differently, which is why I love music. But for me, I feel like this named something that I don't really think has like this clean clinical label or anything. But I also feel like every woman that's been through betrayal knows so viscerally. Like this landed in my body in such a real way, this identity erosion that we go through. And the identity erosion doesn't always happen like all at once. I feel like it's such a gradual experience. You start organizing, reorganizing yourself around this person's mood, what this person needs, their version of reality. And you stop being that person. We stop connecting to you, stop being with you, attuning to you. Your needs now don't matter. Your voice isn't safe. You start to become the responder in the relationship, the manager or the detector or the hope keeper. So relationships that are like this, where chronic deception happening and you start shrinking your own needs, perceptions, because if you do, they're in some way, even covertly, get punished for it. It makes sense why we slowly start to lose not only a sense of reality, but who we are in it. And for a while, it was easy to blame myself, wonder what was wrong with me. How could I let myself go? How could I do that? All of those things, trying to figure out how I got so far away from me. But remember, there is a higher you. There is a version of you that does not get impacted by trauma, your higher self, your higher spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's your capital S self, the self that has all of those amazing characteristics. They get quiet, but they're not gone. And there is a real difference there. And so the fact that you miss this version of you means that you remember that there is a you in there still. And sometimes trying to find our way back starts with just that memory of that version of you. The other line that really stands out to me is the part that says, I'm partly responsible for letting this go on. And I'll be honest, when I first read that line, I was like, ugh, I don't like that. I don't want to take any responsibility. Like, this was all him. It's all his fault. There is some truth in that you did not want this, right? That's why it's a life-saving divorce. You didn't choose the rupture of the relationship by any means. You didn't cause it. You didn't choose it. So this isn't at least I'm not going to take this lyric as a blaming sentence, because there is a difference between responsibility for their choices and responsibility for the ways that we abandon ourselves inside the relationship. That's how I'm choosing to take this line. But I think it's an important distinction to recognize. And I like this lyric in there because I don't think she's saying that what he did was her fault. She's saying, I stopped listening to myself and I kept going anyway. This is that self betrayal that we've talked about. And it matters to name it because it's a piece that belongs to our healing journey, not in that shame, self judgment way, but in a really tender self reckoning way. When I do somatic work with women and we're doing that bottom up work and we're getting into how we became disconnected from our body that led to some self betrayal, a lot of women will describe a physical sensation of, I just sensed that something was off. Like, I just knew that something didn't feel quite right. My stomach dropped, or I felt the anxiety in my chest of a hypervigilance, or I couldn't sleep. I had nightmares. Right? All of those things were overriding it. And then we tell ourselves we're too sensitive, we're being too dramatic, we're expecting too much, too suspicious, too jealous. All of that overriding has a cost. So when we own this piece, again, not to own their choice, but own this piece that is actually ours to own, it's not self-blame, it's self-reclamation. And that in of itself is the beginning of building the relationship back with yourself that you can actually trust. Another line that stands out to me in this song that I think can really resonate with a lot of you, where she says, the moment that I call it, so the moment I call it, like me, the relationship, the moment I call it, you hit me with the I miss you. How many of you on the way out, or maybe you're in this place right now, where you start holding boundaries, you start creating separation, you start moving forward with ending the relationship, and now you get the love bombing, now you get the I'm gonna fix it, I'm going to do the work. Not everybody got that, but some of you really have. I feel like this alone deserves its own segment in a podcast. But the moment that you try to leave or try to name the destructive behaviors, name the unhealthy patterns, draw that line, Then he pivots to the vulnerability. Now it's the I miss you and I can't lose you. Don't go. That's not connection. And a lot of you had multiple attempts of leaving the relationship because this would happen and it would feel like connection. And so then you would drop the boundary, right? Not hold the space. This is a tactic. This is a tactic that I fell for and that I see happen so much, whether it's conscious or not. It works. It works because we have empathy and that gets weaponized against our own clarity. I see this cycle happen in women so much, and we get stuck in those cycles and in a relationship longer and longer and longer. He gets clarity, he gets sad, she abandons her clarity, takes care of his sadness, and then loses herself a little bit more, and then rinse and repeat. So if you're in this pattern, in this cycle, and right now, and you just felt like you got called out, the first step is to just name it. Name the pattern without any judgment, shame, or blame, but also what is the cost of staying in that pattern? Your clarity around their destructive behavior, your clarity around the patterns and the unhealthy dynamics in the relationship is not cruelty. Leaving a destructive relationship is not abandonment. Their emotions about that are not your emergency that you now have to fix and solve. This is the work that we have to do if you're in this cycle right now. Okay, the next line that stands out to me. I miss the girl who made him nervous because she knows just what her worth is. And maybe for some of you that this version of you never existed. For some of you, maybe it existed, and through this experience of betrayal and abuse, it got lost. Either way, there is a version of you that already had worth and value, whether you saw it or believed it or not. She was real. She existed. She had edges. She took up space. And when she showed up around people, her authentic self, where she didn't have to perform or didn't have to acquiesce to anybody else, she was just herself that was enough, more than enough, actually. It probably made a couple people nervous in a good way. And when a woman like that gets into a relationship and there's chronic betrayal, the woman gets managed down. She's told she's too much, not enough, too sensitive, too demanding. And so a natural result of being lied to repeatedly, you start distrusting all of those intuitive hits, all of those instincts that made you strong to begin with. So that might feel somatically in your body. Of course, I had to bring the somatic stuff into it, but that might feel like when you're finding yourself again, you can start with finding how it feels in your body when you know your worth, when you know your value. How do you feel that? A lot of you might not be able to access that right now, and that's okay. The goal of this episode isn't to try and perform self-worth. It's just to remember that little girl still exists. You know, I look at my 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old granddaughter, and I think by the time this episode, she's going to be 4. But I watch my 4-year-old granddaughter and how she's in her peak authentic living right now. Statistically speaking, we start to lose our authenticity at age 5. She's at her peak authentic self right now. And when I came upstairs, I was staying with them and I came upstairs and I had a shirt on. She looked at me. She calls me Memic. She goes, Memic, why are you wearing that shirt? And I said, oh, well, I like this shirt. She goes, huh, well, if you like it. It's like, oh my gosh, I love you. So authentic, not performing, not concerned about my feelings. It's beautiful. It's beautiful because she's with a grandma that can take care of her own feelings and doesn't need a little 4-year-old to make her feel better about the shirt she's wearing. Like that is such a beautiful, when I look at her, it reminds me of what authenticity is. It reminds me of what not performing self-worth looks like. When we're not quite sure how to access that self-worth, sometimes looking at a child can remind you of what that looks like and what that feels like as her body just is free and flowy and wailing and arms and legs and things just move however she wants them to move. And she doesn't give a crap about how she looks standing there in the middle of the grocery store. She doesn't care if she's laying on the floor of the grocery store, right? Sometimes we lose that part of ourself really early on. What does it feel like to get just a smidge of that back? And then the last line that really stood out to me that I want to bring up is the line that says, I miss me more when I'm with you. Oh my goodness. It's so interesting because I feel like this is the paradox that finally names why leaving is the right answer, even when it's terrifying, right here. Because Kyndal, who the author of this song, she doesn't miss just herself. She misses herself most acutely in his presence. The relationship itself is the context in which she disappears, right? That's that's the signal, not the arguments, not the betrayals, not the lies. It's the disappearing in it. And so when you lose yourself more in the presence of someone than you do in their absence, that relationship is not a place where you can grow. That is where the majority of you have learned to survive and have lived in that survival for far too long. I feel like that lyric too, at least for me, is just so deeply validating for those of us who feel guilty about leaving in some way, because a lot of us didn't leave because we stopped loving and we just chose to stop loving this person. Leaving because we choose to love ourselves again. And as a result, it makes it impossible to exist in that relationship. And those two things are so different, and why it's not a normal effing divorce. So, missing yourself, I don't necessarily think needs to be a sign that you're broken or something's wrong. It might be a sign that you're awake or awakening, that some part of you remembers who you are. The part that I think sometimes has been standing there holding the door open the whole time. We just have other parts of us has been way too freaking scared to walk through for probably a long time. And so your job right now is not to have it all together and not to know all of the parts of you and run and skip into this new life of post-divorce wearing the crown of I have everything figured out and together, right? No, I think it's just what's one thing that you can do to walk back towards you just today? What's that one thing just today that you can do to walk towards yourself? Maybe it's just getting your favorite drink. Maybe it's just watching a favorite show. Maybe it's listening to a favorite song. Maybe it's listening to the song and smiling. If you want to take this a step further, here's a journal prompt for those of you go-getters. Describe a moment before your relationship, for your marriage, or just early in your life, when you felt most like yourself. What were you doing? What did you feel like in your body? What did you know about that version of yourself in that moment? And just see what comes of that journal prompt. Okay. You are the chooser in your life. And today, just today, I want you to choose you, that version of you, the woman that you've been missing, because she never left. She's been waiting, and you get to come home to her and create the life that she's always deserved, because you can. Take care, everybody.